Chat, you should have seen the look on my face when I realized one of the gruesome horror games, not horror games, horror movies.
You look cute close up.
One of the gruesome horror movies that was popping off back in the day got a game. Maybe they came out with a game before, but I have no freaking idea. Hellraiser, chat. A Hellraiser game just came out. Let's take a look at this, chat. Now let's make sure the everything is 1080p. Yeah, there we are. Because I was actually so much blood. Whoa, hold on. Let's go back. Who was that? That's King Remedy right there when he hasn't had his Dr. Pepper. Like, please, can I have some more? Hey, whatever, I don't care.
The first time I worked on a video game was 30 years ago this year. I spent a day in full makeup and costume. I did the day and I never heard another word about it. But 30 years later, here we are.
Wait a minute. So he worked on this game 30 years ago, but no one said nothing? Everyone kept it under wraps? Interesting. If I'm understanding that correctly.
Our studio never had the opportunity to work on such a project that involved so much violence and explicit sexual content. On the other hand, also, we never had the opportunity to work on an IP as big as Hellraiser before.
We instantly got hooked to this specific IP because a lot of our development team members are huge fans of this franchise.
Chat, what's darker, Warhammer or Hellraiser? Because Warhammer is just war. It's bloody. I feel like Warhammer is everything that Hellraiser is, but more, if you really think about it, right?
And there has never been a game in this universe before, and because of those two factors, it was really like a no-brainer to us.
It was important to me to kind of be the guy that focused things. We had a lot of Hellraiser experts on the team who had read all the books, seen all the movies, read all the comics, really dug deep and absorbed everything that there was about this franchise. But when you've got like this smorgasbord of like existing material that you can draw on to tell a story, I think in some ways it can be a bit limiting, but it can also be a distraction from what made the work great in the first place.
Okay, let's see if we can unpack what he just said, because it sounded like to me that the people who created Halo was right in not reading any of the lore or even playing any of the games, and then it became what live action Halo is today, which is trash. It's sitting right next to that trash movie called live action Dragon Ball. It's not as bad as live action Dragon Ball, but it's still on the same shelf as live action Dragon Ball. The crazy thing is, Sharknado is a better movie than live action Dragon Ball. I'm just saying, chat. I need to rewind to see to rehear what he just said.
I think existing material that you can draw on to tell a story, I think in some ways it can be a bit limiting, but it can also be a distraction from what made the work great in the first place. Like Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2 and the Hellbound Heart, those are the things that really resonated with people and made them lifelong fans, and those were the really special things. Everything else was like something that we could dip into if and where it was appropriate.
Okay, so he kind of he said it very weird, but it makes sense. Like, let me see.
I think in some ways it can be a bit limiting, but it can also be a distraction from what made the work great in the first place.
I could use Five Nights at Freddy's, for example. The first game, people loved it. People, just loved that game. And they kept adding more and more to the lore, make it deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point where it can get kind of cloudy, if that makes any sense.
Like Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2 and the Hellbound Heart, those are the things that really resonated with people and that made them lifelong fans, and those were the really special things. Everything else was like something that we could dip into if and where it was appropriate.
So the practical effects of the movies were sometimes hard to translate.
She says practical effects, but it's not practical effects. All the stuff you see in the movie was done in real life. I wish I was joking about that, but those Vikings were crazy back in the day. I just want to say. Chat, mark my words. In the future, when reality and fiction start, the line between reality and fiction is blurred, you will not know. No, you will see people living out their darkest fantasies. Think about that for a second when you go to sleep with your teddy bear.
Because we are separated by, I would say, decades between technologies, and they were limited by their time. One of the things that we enjoyed making were the electrical effects when Cenobites appear, like those static electricity that appear on them when they pop out. Or, for example, the costumes the actors actually wore. For example, Pinhead, he had like a latex mask, so it was like a challenge to determine what's actually Doug Bradley's face and what was like the makeup and the layers of silicone. So it was like just like trying to balance what was their limitation, what we wanted to achieve with that.
Obviously, it's a little bit easier doing Pinhead for a video game, because I get to stand in a sound booth behind a microphone without having to spend 4 hours in makeup first.
Oh, he was he was
Our first
doing the makeup.
priority
Got
was
it.
to make the game to be Hellraiser, which meant that we need to be explicit, we needed to show violence, we needed to show sex, so all of these things needed to contribute to the game and to make it as true to the franchise as possible.
So the way that we started with the design process, like for any game, there needs to be a pre-production stage where it is basically the ideation. So we needed to first come up with the ideas that would drive the vision of the game. And finding vision is kind of tricky, especially when you're trying to honor what
This
has
forbidden
already
Rubik's
been
Cube.
left to you from Clive Barker's.
Isaac said the forbidden Rubik's Cube. There's an anime that referenced that Rubik's Cube, by the way. And when I saw it, I had to do a double take. I'm like, what the? I did a double take. I'm like, oh my. Someone gives you a Rubik's Cube, chat. Even if it's colorful, don't take it. Yeah, those people who do those Rubik's Cube competitions, it's only a matter of time until they solve the wrong Rubik's Cube. I'm just saying, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
Stories. And Hellraiser
Oh my
is
goodness.
not the easiest game to make, I would say, but still it does leave you some of the elements which are kind of a no-brainer, like the puzzle box. It's literally a puzzle box, which means that it can be gamified or interacted with in some way.
So the game mechanic that we knew that we need in the game based on the franchise and the IP.
The casual day-to-day commute in downtown San Francisco.
Like they're so iconic and
It's a casual
unique,
commute
and also
downtown
the
San
franchise,
Francisco.
and
That's
we wanted
crazy.
Some of them to do players in a strange and unique way.
As we see in the second movie, and it's mentioned in the novella, there have always been a variety of configurations that are present in Hellraiser lore. The Genesis configuration.
You know that the crazy thing is, chat. There are some characters inside of the Bookkeeper's manga or light novels that would love to be in a place like Hellraiser because they're very evil. Check it out, chat.
Is a different but similar configuration to the Lament, and it has a specific purpose. It can do what the Lament does and call forth the Cenobites and kind of bridge the two worlds of the real world and the labyrinth.
I don't recall seeing the movies where any of the people was fighting back against Hellraiser, not with weapons and guns and everything. Is that a thing? Can Pinhead get killed with a shotgun blast to the chest?
But it also has a role to play in a Cenobite plot. I don't want to say too much more than that, but a Cenobite plot, there's something that Pinhead and his guy.
I'm just thinking, like, please, sir, he's like, please, I need your help.
I don't want to.
Please tell me what ligma means. So, well, just solve this Rubik's Cube and you will find your answer. Yeah, Chad, don't solve that the forbidden Rubik's cube.
Something that Pinhead and his cache, his order, want to achieve, and the Genesis configuration is made for purpose for that.
What I expected to be doing was, retreading the greatest hits. Lotus pleases waste good suffering, and suffering be legendary even in its sights to show you, and tear your soul apart, time to play, and blah, blah, blah. All of that was kind of what I expected to be doing. That, and not necessarily much more. What really surprised me was how much the writers, the game developers, had developed. Aiden may be going to find that things are not quite so simple, not quite so straightforward, but
I think Cyberpunk has really, I don't know if Cyberpunk paved the way for this, but for a lot of content creators, I know when Cyberpunk came out, people were so scared of getting demonetized or this or that because how much nudity was in Cyberpunk and everything. And I'm over here like, that's stupid. Why would you be concerned about nudity when people are getting their face blasted in and you can run over people? Like, it's like murder is worse than someone's ding dong or vajayjay, chat, whatever. I'm not here to try to be the voice of reason. I'm just pointing out the stupidity.
I'll leave you to find that out for yourself when you play the game. But the story is strong and it's powerful, and I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, this looks so cool. It looks so cool, man. I will definitely be playing this. It's supposed to come out on Steam and a bunch of other places, but on the day it's supposed to come out is, I guess it's still in the works. Clive Barker is who's they're making another Halloween game. They're making a few different kind of games, chat. What the comments are saying. The kind of game you're playing when your parents walk into the room. Yeah. Nearly 40 years later, and we finally get a real Hellraiser game with Dog Bradley. Comment says this would be all VR. See, I think it'd be great in VR, but future VR, not today's VR.